All right, episode 528 with Mr. Patrick Durkin is brought to you by the Chili Pad that's available in our store. The Chili Pad essentially allows you to be able to sleep cold, and the ideal sleeping temperature for humans is anywhere from 60 to 67 degrees, and a lot of times, even if it's cold in your room, it gets really hot in the summertime in between your sheets, and the Chili Pad is a great way to help control the temperature upon which you sleep, which is awesome because you can be sleeping cold and your wife could be sleeping warm. So it's a pad that you put on your bed that fills with water that's temperature controlled that goes down to 55 degrees or all the way up to, I think, about 107 degrees. So you can use it in the summer or the winter, and we are so excited about this thing. We're just so proud to be able to offer that to you. We got turned on to these by Dr. Daryl Wolf, who's the Doc of Detox, a former guest on our show. And these are great, great machines. So check them out. The Chili Pad, which allows you to control the temperature of your bed so that you can sleep cold and get the best, deepest sleep of your life. And we're also brought to you by Promo Life and their oxygen concentrators. If you guys are looking for a way to implement and use oxygen in your life, a lot of people do rebounding with oxygen or exercising with oxygen therapy. It's called EWOT. And we did a whole show on oxygen with the author of Flood Your Body with Oxygen, Ed McCabe, and he talks about all the different ways you can use oxygen therapy in your life. And they have Promo Life that is amazing products. And I would highly recommend going over there and checking out some of the different products they have, not just oxygen concentrators, but ozone therapy, saunas, and everything else. So they have some really great machines, and I highly recommend them. So if you guys are interested in using oxygen, flowing that through your ozone machine, or checking out the Chili Pad, just go to extremehealthradio.com/528, and they'll both be available in our store as well. Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. This is episode 528 with Mr. Patrick Durkin. My name is Justin Stellman. Right now we do 2 shows a week, and we really thank you guys for joining us and being on the show and being a part of everything we have going on. Today, we're going to be talking about water. Water is so critical for our health. And sometimes I wonder, what kind of water do we drink? Everyone has something different to say. Do we drink reverse osmosis? Do we drink structured water? There's kangan water. There's alkaline water, distilled water, spring water, well water. What kind of water should we be drinking? So we're going to be talking with Patrick Durkin on the show today. He's the owner of thewellnessenterprise.com. And just to give you guys a little heads up on a couple of our recent shows that we've had, let's see. We had recently Dr. Gerald Pollock. Many of you guys probably know about him. If you're interested in water, he talks about the 4th phase of water. We had Susan Chan on the show recently, and she went over Lyme disease and healing Lyme disease. I can say that naturally. And then upcoming, we have Mr. Adam Bergstrom, who's going to be talking about body dowsing, and he talks a lot about eating food at the right time. So he has the timing of the organs and the timing of the food, and matching all of those up together creates a well-working body. Adam Bergstrom is one of our more fascinating guests. And then we have the paleocardiologist coming up, Mr. Jack Wolfson. I can say that, Dr. Jack Wolfson, I should say. Then we also have Victoria, I forget what her last name is. She's going to be talking about Bob Beck, the work of Mr. Bob Beck and magnetic pulsars and things. And then we have Meridian Grace. We will be diving deep into the inner intelligence and healing of the body. So we got lots of cool stuff coming up on the show. So let me turn down the music so that Mr. Patrick Durkin can hear me correctly. And let me introduce him. Patrick, are you there today?
I am. Thanks for having me on the show, Justin.
Yeah, you know what's so interesting? I'm not sure if I told you this, but I had heard a couple of different interviews with you online. And then within days of that, I got an email from you, and it was like serendipitous. It was incredible.
My life happens a lot like that these days. In the last month, have spent about 5 minutes doing outreach in my business each week.
Uh-huh.
And each of those 5-minute outreach programs have resulted in an interview.
Oh, my gosh.
I feel like I'm in the flow.
That's so funny, right?
Easy.
Because I heard you and I'm like, okay, I got to, put this guy in our list. And so I put you in our list, and then sometimes it takes us a few months to sort of cycle through, and, people get pushed down the list, and we just, eventually get through everyone. But then 2 days later, I got an email from you, and here we are. This is perfect.
I love it.
So now I want to talk, obviously, like I said at the intro, I'm not sure if you heard about all the different types of water, and I want to get into your story a little bit, and starting out with water. But from what I understand, you were doing a lot of work in finances before you got into this whole water thing, didn't you?
Yeah, I have, and I think I bring a unique perspective to all this when you bring up all those waters, because all the questions that you have and that people have had, I've asked them.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to know the answers, and what happened was I had my own financial advisory firm. I was making lots of money, and I was unfulfilled, and I was the chairman of the recycling committee in my town. And we spent 2 years working through the red tape of town politics to get recycling bins put all over town. And as soon as we finished our project, I would have thought I'd be celebrating, jumping up and down.
Right.
And I felt my heart break. I was like, what is that? I don't understand. And it took a number of weeks to kind of let it unfold and see what was going on. And what was going on is I don't want to give people recycling bins.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel good about that. I want to give them an alternative that's so much better than using a plastic bottle that they stop doing it. And so I invited the rest of my committee to join me in that project, thinking that the reduce and reuse portion of the 3 R's is more important than the recycle. And there was no alignment, and I resigned.
So now they were focused mostly on the last R, the recycle part, but they weren't really focused much on reducing or reusing?
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit more of a rebel. I want real change. I don't want to float within the system.
No.
I want to transform the system. We have way too much suffering going on out there in the world for us to just sit back and take things the way they are. It's time for us to stand up and say, hey, I can do something about this. How am I going to change it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fascinating. So when you were thinking about this, and they were just talking mostly about, recycling and all of that stuff, and we hear that so often, what were you thinking about? You were thinking about, okay, how can we get people to do what?
Well, I figured I kind of armed myself with a question, which was, what story would I have to learn or be able to educate people about that it would be so much better than what they know now that they would be willing to transform, right? So many of us have fallen into things that we do because they're convenient.
Mm-hmm.
But then we feel pain and suffering about the immune systems being compromised in people we love.
Mm-hmm. Or
we feel pain and suffering because there's trash floating around in our oceans, and we have this distant awareness that if there's trash in our fish, that might be bad for us.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to bring that home. I want that to be front and center, and for people to say, wait a minute, if I see everything as one thing, like it all comes from one energy, it's all connected. I'm connected to that ocean. I'm connected to that trash. And then I take action in my life. So, let me give you a perfect example. If we want to transform the way corporations think about us, market to us, control us, do what they do with us, what if we all just collectively stopped buying plastic water bottles? That's it. We just stop. And we don't empty the shelves anymore. There's no room for the inventory that's on the next truck. And pretty soon there's no more trucks with room on them. And then the bottling plant just stops.
Mm-hmm.
Because the people say, you know what, this is really stupid. That we should spend so much money, billions and billions of dollars per year, on a quality of product that's no better than what we have available in our homes. And if you do have really bad water in your home, then you just transform it with a system that you buy once and serves you for a lifetime. So there's so many benefits if we took this action together.
Well, there's so many different questions to ask in terms of bottled water, right? I mean, I heard you on a previous interview that you did that where I think you mentioned how in a normal 16-ounce container of a plastic bottle container, a quarter of that of oil is what it takes to create that bottle and then to get it to you. So on a lot of different levels, you have the issue with the oil, and then the oil seeping into the water, and then as well as where does that sourced water come from, and then as a result of buying that water bottle, where does that water bottle go? So there's so much going on with a simple transaction, going to a liquor store, getting a plastic water bottle. There's so much more going on than most people think about, right?
Yeah, and just inside of what you just said, do we even think about the sinkholes? Or do we think about the communities whose aquifers dry up? Or do we think about the myth that we get sold about water scarcity? That's the biggest load of crap ever. There's water everywhere, and we have all the same water on Earth that we've always had, and we have people who are doing research in space, and everywhere they look, there's water. Mm-hmm. So we don't have a water scarcity problem. We have water distribution problems, and the water distribution problems could be easily solved if they were solved by people like you and me instead of by corporate greed.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of water scarcity, it's interesting. There are so many things that are pumped out on the mainstream media about so many different subjects, and I've gotten to the point now where I know what I don't know, and I freely admit that there's so much information out there that I'm just uneducated in certain subject matters, and that's okay with me because you can only spend so much time educating yourself on certain topics. So I want to say something like climate change. I mean, that's off topic completely, but climate change is the same thing as what they're telling us about water scarcity in the sense that it's sort of told to the masses and it's believed to be true by everybody. But in terms of water scarcity, why do you say it's a myth that it's not true?
Because all the water that was on Earth when the Earth was created is still here. So there's no water disappearing. So, we have technology that we can park off the coast of California with barges and run clean water through desalination right into the coast and solve our Southern California water problem. Right now.
Yeah.
It already exists. So why does that not happen? Is because that progress is at the cost of the multi-billion-dollar multinational corporations that run the world. Wow.
Going back to the water bottles, it was so sad. There's a girl on YouTube. I forget. Oh, her name it's called Allison's Adventures. And if anyone wants to go look this up, she's this really great kind of young girl whose father used to work for National Geographic, and she traveled a lot as a kid. And so she's got her whole travel channel going now, and she travels and surfs everywhere. And it's just an awesome YouTube channel. But I was watching it recently, and she was in some remote island off the coast of, I want to say India, maybe somewhere in that ocean. And it was where everyone sends their plastic containers. And you can't walk anywhere on this island, and the island is constantly burning. They're just constantly burning these plastic containers. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen that, but it's one of the things that I learned about when I was the chair of that recycling committee. It's like, here we are doing this work as a town to clean up our town with recycling. And then we have barges leaving the United States with bottles to be incinerated in India. And, it doesn't, in this age where the internet connects everything, it doesn't take too long to figure out that what goes in their air sooner or later ends up in ours.
Uh-huh.
It's just a amazing system that we've been pulled into participating in it without realizing the power that we have to change it.
Mm-hmm. Now, having listened to some of your other shows and looked at your website and your work and everything that you're doing, I can tell you've got a spiritual approach to all of this. And it's interesting that you said that, you kind of alluded to that at the beginning. In terms of our participation in all of this, someone who's living in the middle of the country or in the middle of some other country and far isolated from any coast and just kind of lives their life and is listening to this, how are we responsible on a spiritual level, do you think, with all of this sort of water karma that we have going on?
Well, I think water is the one thing that connects everything. Right? We're all made of water. The surface of the earth is water. It is the connector. Mm-hmm. And I've tried to, ignore that, or I've not put focus on it at times, and it just keeps showing up and showing me. So I think one of the things that we need to do to understand this is see the way separation and isolation is part of the structure that is reinforced by our culture to have us do things that are disempowering. Mm-hmm. And so as one who has chosen to immerse myself in the research of water, I've been shown that everything is connected. So pieces of the research that have come up is like David Sarita was on a number of shows years ago, and he was teaching us that a solar flare would occur, and instantaneously bacteria on Earth would reflect it, even though traveling at the speed of light, that information would take 8 minutes to get to the Earth. Mm-hmm. And so what he's saying is water is responsible for cosmic communication. There have been there's been research done where they split a single molecule and they send one way 7 miles and one the other way 7 miles. So that one molecule is 14 miles apart from itself. Mm-hmm. And a change that happens in one molecule happens in the other instantaneously. Mm-hmm. So there's an actual connection inside of the water molecule. And, what I've found is, like 5 years ago, I was a pretty normal American guy. Like, finance, money, driving a Porsche was important to me, things like that. Mm-hmm. And, what I've been shown now is that, being an authentic representation of myself is all that matters. So, as we're speaking, I'm looking out the window of my home office. And about 5 years ago, I decided to stop mowing my lawn. This was another one of those things that I learned on the recycling committee. It's like all of that toxic poison. You ever see those little stakes in the front yard, Justin, where they put a little sign on that says, "This lawn has just been sprayed, don't let your pets or kids on it"?
Yeah, I've seen those a lot, yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So we have all these, homes with, I love moms and their energy of like leading us and protecting us and taking care of their families, and they do so many amazing things. And they're running these homes, in many cases, and they have these signs that they've just applied poison to their yard. And, I don't think that that's a willful choice. I just think that they're unconscious about it. Mm-hmm. So I decided 5 years ago to stop mowing my lawn and to start spreading wildflower seeds on my lawn. And so my lawn, it turns out, is very polarizing for my neighborhood. I've had people literally come up and stand a foot away from me and scream at me about not cutting my lawn.
You're kidding me.
I'm not.
Oh, my gosh.
And I've had others say, "Your lawn is just so beautiful. Would it be okay if I cut a few of the flowers and took it home?"
Wow.
Right? So that's all happening. And now that it's 5 years in, it feels like all of the animals in the neighborhood live at my house. There's constant bunny rabbits, and I'm looking at 2 very small bunnies that were probably born within the last week right out my window right now.
Wow.
And the chirping in the morning and the birds, it's just extraordinary. So I would say that my property, which is a little quarter acre here, mm-hmm. is like a harmonic field that is just radiating change. Mm-hmm. And so I do my best to be that in all areas of my life.
Yeah, it's really interesting too, because you think water. I mean, water for me it's so complex. I mean, I mentioned at the beginning of the show we talked to, oh gosh, what was his name? The fourth, Dr. Gerald Pollock.
Dr. Pollock.
Yeah, an amazing guy. And the more people I talk to about water, the more confused I am about it. And I think what's so cool is that it seems like it's the most simple substance in the world, right? I mean, water. But when you start really studying it, not only does it become more and more complex, but it starts showing you, when you start looking at things like molecules communicating with one another that are isolated by 14 miles, and what's the method of communication between the two molecules, and how we're all connected, and it starts bringing into itself a spiritual component to all of it. I mean, it's so complex yet so simple. It's amazing.
Yeah, and I listened to that interview that you just did. That was great. And, I love Dr. Pollock's work because he's gone into the lab and he's measured for us and provided us with a way to quantify and understand that there is a fourth phase of water. It's not just what we think it is, and that it's alive, this fourth phase of water. There's, billions of interactions happening every second, and you can add structure or order or energy to that water, and it will store it. So that's, just amazing that he's been able to validate that. And, of course, he stands with those like Dr. Emoto or, going back 100 years to Victor Schauberger, who've been bringing this forward so that we can understand water differently. The thing that I think is the voice that I've been asked to be about this is, okay, well, after I listen to Dr. Pollock, I get excited about the change and the openness about water, but what does that mean to a person in their life? Like, how should they act or change, or what would a prudent human being do in response to that information? And that's where I've taken this, because I want to take action with my life. I want everybody who listens to me to be inspired that they have the ability to take action that makes a difference. And so, you can guide us here into any aspects of water that you're, a little confused about or want more information about, and I've probably thought about it and come up with some answers.
Yeah, so I have a million questions when it comes to water. By the way, I love your approach to all of this stuff. It's really cool. It's really refreshing, and it's unique, and I like it.
Awesome, thanks.
So all the different kinds of waters, you have people talking about, like I mentioned at the beginning, kangan water, reverse osmosis, structured, alkaline, distilled, spring water, well water. Everyone has their own opinion. Some people think you should drink acid water and put, and blah, blah, blah. It needs to be more acid. First of all, what do you think is the most optimal water humans can drink, or is there one?
There isn't one.
Okay.
But there is one thing everybody needs to make sure they know, and then they can sort things out. And I can, if you break down all the waters you just said there one at a time, I can go through each one of them and give a couple of bullet points about why that one.
Could we do that?
When.
Okay, let's start with we'll just do a couple. Oh, sorry.
Hang on one sec, Justin. Let me give you that one thing.
Okay.
So, because it's really important to help people listen if they get the big picture first.
Okay.
So the big picture is, remember, I wanted to get rid of plastic bottles, so I just asked questions and questions and questions until I could get a story that was convincing for me that I wanted to take different action. And 5 years of that journey clarified that well over 99% of the discussion that's out there in the world about water is about the chemistry of water. So that's the first thing to understand, is when we're talking about filters and everything that you've mentioned so far, it's a different type of chemistry.
Okay.
And it was when I learned about the physics of water and that I could change the energy of it that everything changed. I was like, oh, this is not a usual discussion, and oh, this is compelling. And that's actually the discussion that eventually ends up opening up the spirituality and all the depth of water.
Interesting.
But I think what we're going to do to get there is first you're going to ask me questions about chemistry, and then we'll get to physics.
Yes, okay, because my question, after we're done with the chemistry part, my question is, can the physics change the chemistry? So we'll get over to that. So,
yeah.
Reverse osmosis, what is it?
Great.
Just, is it good for people? What's the deal with reverse osmosis?
Great place to start, because that's where I started.
Oh, good.
So, I went to a naturopathic doctor. I was sick. I was dealing with regenerating my health. He'd written 7 books. He had the prime minister of some country flying here to be treated by him. He's a guy you would listen to.
Yeah.
And I didn't know anything. So he told me RO, so I got RO at my house, and I got RO at my work, and I took a sample, and I brought it to him, and he measured it, and he goes, oh my God, this is amazing. The total dissolved solids, the TDS in this water, is almost nothing. Great water. Where'd you get it? My house. Big smile, right?
Okay.
And I drank that water for 7 years, and I'm not saying that RO water made me sick, but the consciousness that I was, and the guy that I was, the years that I drank RO, I was sick.
Okay.
Now, RO is like strip mining your water. It goes in and takes everything out. That's why the total dissolved solids, we're measuring at almost nothing. So this guy who knew so much is telling me if my water has nothing in it, then I'm doing just the right thing for myself. And one of the little things that happened is I shifted careers during all of this, and while I was in the career as a financial advisor, I had this fountain that I purchased, and it's this gorgeous piece of copper with like a little waterfall and a spinning wheel. And I spent a lot of time researching it, and I wanted it to be beautiful. So I only gave it RO water, and it didn't age. When I left that office and took it with me, it was as clean as it ever was. And then when I brought it into my home, I didn't have RO here, and because I had moved, and I started to give it tap water and alkaline water, and then structured water. And what I noticed was that it grew so much gunk on it that I had to, every summer I'll take it outside and kind of chip everything off of it. And for a while that irritated me, right? Because here was this thing I wanted to be pristine. But then, I've spent a lot of time in this home thinking about water. And I was observing my fountain. I was like, wait a minute. If nothing could grow on it with the RO, then it's kind of sterile. Does that mean nothing could grow inside of me during that same time period? Right? And then you hear the naturopaths and the people that examine RO water, and they refer to it as lifeless water or dead water or mineral-depleted water.
Right.
So RO water, from a chemistry standpoint, is really, really pure, like everything's removed from it, including the toxins and the minerals. And the only time I would personally drink that now is if I was on a cleanse. Because, and this applies to distilled water too. Let's handle two at the same time.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you how they're different. Okay.
Yeah, well, they're pretty similar.
Okay.
So they're both like depleted. So if you send them into the body, they will actually take things out of the body, which is really great if you're doing a cleanse. But on a long-term basis, it seems like that could be connected to the depletion of our bones, osteoporosis, our dental issues where people's teeth tend to, fall apart as they get older. The New York State Department of Health published this concept of the bone bank. And what they were saying was your bone bank is your store of your alkaline minerals in your body. And if you get acidic, your body will go to the bank and it will make a withdrawal to neutralize the acidity. And so that is why, beach erosion over time, we have bone and teeth erosion over time.
Now, it's interesting because there's a lot of people out there that promote, I know there's a guy named Andrew Weber, I think his name is, and he's a real big fan of Distilled. But I guess everyone, I think what it's sounding like to me is that you want to use the water that you're drinking for a specific purpose. Like, for example, if you want to be in a good mood, you might listen to some really good music. Or if you really want to learn something, you'll listen to a podcast. Or if you want to accomplish something else, you'll go do something else. And it's using specific events or things for a purpose that you have, rather than doing that one thing, listening to the same song for the rest of your life. It's sounding to me like you want to use water in specific ways then. Is that correct?
I think so. And I think it's important to recognize who you're listening to.
Uh-huh.
So I'm kind of weird in the way I think because I made a lot of money young, and then I got divorced and lost a lot of money.
Uh-huh.
Like my divorce was final the same month that Lehman Brothers collapsed.
Oh, I remember you saying that, yeah.
It was brutal. I was responsible for investment policy decisions, and I was out of my head.
Oh,
it was
man.
just... but I learned a lot in that time period, right? And so... wow, just revisiting that just threw me off my chain of thought for a second.
Not a good place to go.
No.
Yeah.
What am I doing going there? I need you to pick me back up here and redirect me.
Yeah, no, I was just saying it's just interesting for people. I think that a lot of people get stuck on this is the one kind of water we should all be drinking, and there's probably benefits in a lot of different kinds of water. And like you're just saying, if I'm going to be cleansing, maybe I'll do distilled or reverse osmosis. If I want to remineralize, maybe I'll drink some other kind of water. So using water as a means to an end.
I got it. Yeah, thank you. So what I was saying is because of my experiences with money, I don't think the way everybody does. Like, I know that I'm much happier now than when I was making lots of money. And it's not just because of the money, but the way I think about things are about what serves our oneness, what serves people in the earth. And the way most businesses think about business is what's my recurring revenue, right? How do I get my customers to come back to me? So somebody who tells you RO water is good, they probably sell RO filter cartridges, which need to be replaced, and probably more profitably, they probably sell supplements that they recommend that you have to add back into the water. So they tell you, here, take everything out and then put the good stuff back in. And that's one way of doing it, but it can be helpful for people who are confused, like you identified earlier in the show, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of confusion, to notice who you're listening to, right? I can't tell you, like, what a hard shift it was for me when I was going down the road of building a business in the chemistry-based traditional filtration market of water, and then I learned about the physics-based devices because they have no recurring revenue. They're one-time sales that serve people for a lifetime. And that, as a businessman, you're like, whoa, I'm going to have to find a lot of new customers for a really long time if I want to be in this business.
It's like selling a car that never breaks down, you know? It's not good business.
Right? Yeah. Right. Who would want to do that and be in business? Well, somebody who's into oneness. Somebody who's into, well, what would elevate and assist humanity with evolving? Well, I think that comes from feeling our overall connectedness and serving one another, and like instead of applying ourselves to the type of feats that we do now, what if we applied ourselves to understanding what it means to be multidimensional beings and what it means to live in this universe? What if that were our application instead of profit? That'd be pretty different.
Completely different, yeah. Okay, so in terms of reverse osmosis and distilled, I'd probably, looking at my list here, I'd probably combine these next two together too. I don't know, I mean, one's a brand name, so it's challenging, it's Kangan, but the other one is just like a kind of an alkaline water. And is that kind of the same idea there?
Okay. It's the same idea. So you can have alkaline, Kangan water is made alkaline through an electric process. So you take a stream of water and you zap it with electricity and you force it into two streams. And each of the streams has very different properties, and I think one of the most telling things about this is after you zap it, it immediately, when exposed to air and time, begins to revert back to the way it was.
So it'll naturally start degrading and going back to acid?
Yes. The ORP and that's the oxidation reduction potential, and the pH of alkaline water immediately begin to degrade as soon as it's made.
So what is that saying? Is that saying that water naturally tries to find a different pH other than the one they're trying to artificially force it into?
Yes.
Interesting.
Which we could spend a whole show on this, but getting to the conclusion, I drank this for 2 years. Like, this was where I went after RO.
Did you have good results? So many people talk about the amazing results they have.
And I know exactly why. Well, I have a story about exactly why. So, for me, I had some results that were good because I had an acidic stomach.
Okay.
And that was the genesis of my health problems. So putting alkaline water in there was a good thing for me.
So you were actually producing too much stomach acid?
I was too acidic, so too much stress, poor diet, fried foods.
Oh, wow.
The things that cause bodies to break down.
Yeah.
I was being a normal, American guy.
Yeah.
And then everything I've ever sold in my life, Justin, it's been pretty easy for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like out of 7,000 stockbrokers at A.G. Edwards in my first year at age 30, I was number 25.
Oh, wow.
So when I went to sell alkaline water, kangan specifically, I anticipated success.
Mm-hmm.
And the marketplace laughed. I got some high-profile meetings with some important people, and I met with a lot of consumers. And in an entire year, with an expectation of selling 100 a month, I sold 11 for the year.
No way.
It was like,
a little lower
right?
than you thought.
Oh, my God. So it was like the marketplace was teaching me something. But here, there was an example of the type of people you've heard of, where my friend Kim, her doctor, who happened to be her boss, had told her, you have 3 to 6 months to live, and there's nothing I can do to save you. And she bought a kangan water machine from me, and she's still alive 5 years later.
Oh, wow.
And she would probably say changing the pH in her body through water was the reason she thinks she is alive.
Interesting.
So I think what we're saying here about the way the water reverts to its more natural state and this out-of-balance situation is when you have a body that's really out of balance and you give it out-of-balance water that's out of balance in the other direction,
mm-hmm.
you can potentially neutralize the forces that were causing the imbalance in that body.
Yeah, I can completely understand that. I can see how different people will, they'll do a fast, for example, and the one thing that they're eating might be something very sugary like dates or bananas or something, and they get these incredible results. I think it's probably what you're saying is they're just changing radically the pH and the chemistry of their own body, and their body's reacting in a good way to that shakeup, I guess. Yeah,
so the alkaline water industry passes itself through the mouths of people who either are the person or know the person who's had a dramatic life-changing, life-saving experience. And those are authentic experiences. There's nothing, in my opinion, that's not true about those.
Uh-huh.
But that doesn't make it a water that I would drink on a long-term basis. Because once I started to stabilize with my stomach, it didn't go away, but it was stabilized, I started to become open to receiving the other information on the other side of that seesaw, which is what happens if you put too much alkalinity in your body or you do this for too long.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a nutritionist who does live blood cell analysis show up, and she had lost a number of clients to alkaline water. They had died from becoming too alkaline. And it's one of those things that's not that well understood, and it creeps up, and there's a lot of weird incongruent symptoms. And then, in her case, she had people die.
So it could be a situation where, like we were saying before, if someone is running very acid, or I wonder also if the body, the dosha body types that they talk about in Ayurvedic medicine plays a role. Like maybe you really have to understand where you are in your life. Are you trying to heal? Are you a pitta or vata body type? Are you under intense stress, or do you have diseases that are sort of correlated with being too acid? And if you are, then an alkaline water could be great for in a matter of time to get yourself back into sort of normalcy, and then you can go from there, right? Yeah,
I think so. Now we're starting to move toward the physics I don't think you see it coming yet, but let me connect it for you.
But I want to, before we do that, I want to ask you about well water and spring water, because those are the other two things I can think of, yeah.
Okay, let me just give you one point there, and then we'll go to those. So my mission includes empowering people to know for themselves. So when you think about what you just proposed and that a person might need it on a short-term basis, my goal is to help them awaken that knowing within themselves so that they can make the choice. And so I want to give one of my, I think, most empowering actions to people so they can try it for themselves, which is test, experiment. Right? When I switched from alkaline water to living water or structured water or energized water, I didn't get a new device and then stop drinking alkaline water. I would wake up in the morning and say, okay, body, what do you want to drink today? And my body still wanted to drink the alkaline water, even though I had the structured water devices in my home. So I kept drinking alkaline water.
Now, how did you know that? Did you just know it deep within inside, or did you do any muscle testing, or how did you come to that conclusion?
It's a combination of things. And so people who have deep knowings can go from there. Muscle testers, of course, that's great. But let's say you're like most people, where you're like, I don't feel that stuff, and I just don't know what you're talking about, right? That's most of us. Well, all you do is, I just do 3 days on, 3 days off. So 3 days of this, 3 days of that, 3 days of this, 3 days of that. And if you repeat that a few times, you'll notice that you feel better on one or the other.
Oh, okay.
Right? We have the wisdom. We're just not tuned to listening within. So this is a simple structure from listening within. How do I feel on my 3 days on this water? How do I feel on my 3 days on that water?
So you know what you're saying here is, and I love this, because we have so many different guests on the show that will say conflicting advice, and people will write in and ask me, what do you think about this guy versus that guy? And people have even said, would you want to have people on to debate each other? And for me personally, I've never really gotten anything out of a debate, because the people that I've ever seen debating any issue, neither party is willing to look at things with a fresh, open, clear mind and be willing to change. They're interested in trying to persuade other people to think like they do. And so you have all these people that come on our show and they want to know, well, this guest said this guest said that. What do you think? And I constantly try to get people to do what you're just saying right here, is like, it doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what any of our other guests think or anybody thinks. What does your body think? And reconnecting with that and learning how to do that. Because if someone could do that, then they would never drink one kind of water for the rest of their life, because their bodies are always in flux. And if their body really wants alkaline water, then after 6 days of drinking alkaline water, then their body's going to say something different. They'll be in touch with that. And so that's what I constantly try to impart to people, is getting in touch with who you are so that you can make these decisions, irrespective of what anyone else says. Yeah.
So now we're starting to talk about healing, separation, and isolation. I wouldn't participate in a debate if you invited me.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't be fun.
No.
Right? Because everybody else would be trying to annihilate me, and I would be trying to bring oneness.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do anything else now. I still have habitual behaviors and wiring that I get the opportunity to bring awareness to and release. But as a general perspective, I just want to keep doing whatever empowers people the most. So, going a step further, I really want to contribute to your listeners today. So somebody might be saying, well, how do I do that if a kangan machine costs $4,000? How am I going to do the 3 days on and 3 days off? Now, you know that I'm all about getting rid of plastic bottles, but I'm going to give a suggestion right now, which is to go buy some alkaline water in plastic bottles. Right? If you live in California, there's probably a dispenser near you where they sell alkaline water by the gallon. If you live on the East Coast, you might have to go to Whole Foods and buy some of the 8.8 pH water that comes in plastic containers. But for purposes of the experiment, if it could have the person not have to spend a couple $1,000, I think it's worth it. So you go buy your bottles of alkaline water, you drink them for a couple of days, you drink your comparison water for a couple of days, and you see. And, one of the things that I've noticed as I've developed this habit is that it's not a fixed or endpoint game. I didn't get to one device that I offered to the public and then I'm done. Mm-hmm. It just didn't happen. So I sold one device exclusively for 4 years because it was the best device I knew of in the world. And then I brought in a new one that is gold. It's 24-karat gold on the inside and out. And I started doing interviews, and my customers who bought the old one said, hey, you told me that last thing was a lifetime purchase, and now you're selling something you say is better. Mm-hmm. And so I ended up putting a policy in place where I allow people who bought the old device to trade it in and get back the money they paid for it, and then use that as a credit toward the new devices.
Oh, wow.
Because I feel so strongly that it's really important that I honor who I was in the world asking people to buy those devices.
Mm-hmm. Well, too, water is so complex, and we're learning new things all the time about it, right?
And I don't think that that's going to stop. Uh-huh. And, that brings up another aspect, a kind of a cornerstone of my business, which is I try to identify and come into alignment with what I perceive and understand to be infinite energies compared to man-made energies. Mm-hmm. So as the structured water industry is growing now, people are coming to me and they're saying, well, what about this one? I heard it on The Truth About Cancer and I think it's really good. Or what about this one? I say, well, I've thought about all of the ones I'm aware of, and what I would tell you is if the technology that underlies it came from source, like sacred geometry or vortexing, mm-hmm. then that's never going to go out of style. But if it comes from man, like something to do with electricity, it's probably a man-made out-of-balance thing with a good marketing program and a story. Mm-hmm. And so I guide people to align with the infinite energies rather than with the man-made ones.
Wow, coming out of the finance business world, I mean, this is you couldn't be any more opposite than that.
Well, it was a rough experience and a rough exit, Justin. Yeah. So things had to change, and I wouldn't have voted for that path. I wouldn't have pre-chosen it as like my 3D identity. But now that I understand life more from a soulful perspective, from a what's my mission and purpose perspective, I get that I needed all of those things to happen mm-hmm. so that I could grow into and become this voice.
Yeah, because it goes completely counterintuitive, like we were saying before, to the typical capitalistic sort of society where, all of our inventions and products and everything that we use on a day-to-day basis is built, designed to fall apart after a couple of years. And so, this is a completely different way of thinking. And I look at you and what you're doing, and it seems pretty interesting because not only do you have to educate people about how important water is, and water is something completely different than anyone ever thought or knew, but then you also, if you do end up selling something to them, it's not like a machine someone buys every year to replace new parts and all this kind of stuff. So you have like a double path against you, I guess, kind of.
Yeah, the concept of planned obsolescence was actually created. The guy attributed with that discovery was, I think, 1955, Victor Lebeau.
Oh, wow.
And the idea was, we built up all of this infrastructure for production during the war years, mm-hmm. and now we were seeing slack. It's like, well, what are we going to do? Well, let's make everything so it breaks. And, for me, I have a visceral reaction to that. It makes me want to throw up.
Yeah.
And so I want to be around things in my life that last, mm-hmm. that are made by craftsmen, right? That are beautiful, mm-hmm. that when I'm using them, I'm not thinking, how long is it going to be before this thing breaks on me? Mm-hmm. but rather I'm so thankful for an awesome tool like this.
Mm-hmm. I think we're going back to that a little bit. I think people are starting to value more the artisan, the craft, the handmade items and goods and stuff. I see a lot of people buying items that are like that, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So in terms of the last couple types of water, these are kind of more bridging the gap, I think, to the physics of water. And those are like well water. We drink well water a lot from a well down here called Carlsbad. I forget what it's called, Carlsbad Springs or something like that. And spring water. And a lot of people talk about spring water and how it's structured. And so it seems like well water and spring water are more getting into that sort of spiritual physics kind of thing that you're talking about, right?
We're moving in the right direction. I wouldn't take it to spiritual yet, but I would take it to the energy. So let me start to unpack this for you. So the properties of the water that's in the ground that are different than the properties of the water that we get coming through our tap, that's been pushed through our town water distribution company or through a bottled water company, are that water is alive and vital. Spring water, well water.
Mm-hmm.
Now, wells are, there are as many different solutions as there are individual wells. Like, that water under the ground is just completely different. It's the hardest aspect of my business is knowing how to help people with a well, because every well can have different types of toxins and different sediments. And wells are the systems that need the most support on the way into the home to be consumed, because you typically have to deal with, is the mineral content too high or too low? Usually too high. Is there a hardness issue from that? Do you need a softener? And then do you need something to purify and address the chemistry? And then do you need something to address the energy? It's complicated. And so it's the energy of those that is in the right direction. And if I had to choose a bottled water, a spring water with a naturally slightly alkaline pH would probably be a choice. But then one of the things that happens is when water goes through a long straight pipe, there's friction for the water. And just a 300-foot passive pipe diminishes the energy of that water down to virtually zero. And so if you think about it, a bottling plant that is in the middle between the spring and you getting the spring water, in most cases, is going to negate most of the value of why you're getting it in the first place. Now, if you're harvesting the water yourself and you're grabbing your jugs and you're going out into nature, I think that's really cool. I have encountered people like that, and when they found out that they could get similar properties from buying a device from me and then not have to go to nature every couple of weeks to pick up their water, they thought that was pretty cool. But the now bridging the gap to the spirituality, so this is an area that is still being discovered, and this is why I talk so much about wanting to empower each individual to know for themselves, because I'm not selling my spirituality. I'm just sharing what's true for me, and if there's something in it that can inspire somebody to discover what's true for them, that's fantastic. So my experience is that it's being around devices that transform water with infinite technologies that bring up the spiritual benefits. So that's how I get it in my home is, I'm starting to use the word living water for that. And when water is patterned with sacred geometry and vortexing and gemstones, it seems to have most of that living water experience. Now, if we wanted to test this on our own and test it in nature, the best place to go is to a waterfall. I've had some of the most spiritual experiences of my life at Niagara Falls and at different springs down in Colombia, down in South America. And I found that just being around really vibrantly moving water seems to evoke things in me
Mm-hmm.
that are really powerful. Same thing with walking the beach here at home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you get those negative ions, right, coming off the water, and something magical is happening there, I think.
Yep. I learned how to use long tone sounds at the edge of the ocean to rebalance my chakras. And in that dialogue, I would go to the ocean whenever I had a question or a problem. And I'd stand there and balance myself, and the flood of creativity that would come as an answer would literally sometimes send me running home to record the inspiration that had just come.
Wow. Yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, everyone always says that, your best ideas come when you're taking a shower or when you're swimming in a creek or in the ocean. You get all these interesting thoughts about the world and things that you should be doing. It's can't be a coincidence, right?
That's where you're open to spirituality, Justin.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it is with the living water. I remember when I was at the beginning of this journey, one of my teachers said, well, just go for a walk along the beach and ask questions of the water. And I was like, what? And then there's one day I was having a problem. I remembered her suggestion, and I went for a walk, and I was like, okay, water, here I am, show me the answer to this question.
Mm-hmm.
And I look up, and a wave breaks from the right and the left at the same time, and it meets in the middle where I am. And I go, oh, the middle ground, huh?
Ah.
And I feel this resounding yes in my body. And I was like, message received.
There you go.
Right? And now just sharing that with you, I've become a lot more sensitive. So I just got lit up by goosebumps from the top of my eyebrows down over the top of my head and down my back.
Nice.
And, right? And I've learned now that is how things are affirmed. So when I go have, my experience at Niagara Falls was I ended up just feeling immense love for all the people that were there and noticing that I was looking deeply into their faces and seeing how they had different features that identified to me that they probably came from different parts of the world. And
Mm-hmm.
there were all these physical differences, and I just felt love. And then when I went and told that story the first few times, with more detail, a little longer, I would get goosebumps that illuminated my body. I was like, okay, I am speaking the truth. That is what happened. And it's been amazing the way, as I've opened to those things, as I've opened to the living water, both externally and then in my home, the water or the universe or source or, however wherever it comes from, it affirms when I'm on the right path.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's such a deep, complex substance. Before we go any further, we have a few minutes left, and we have an email from Jessica, and she says, hi, Justin. First, a huge thank you to you and Kate for doing what you do to make us all wiser and healthier. From your side of the mic, it seems pretty easy, but in reality, we know it's a ton of work, so sincerely thank you for your shows. And she says here, question, here in New Jersey, I'm lucky to have a natural spring within driving distance. It is New Jersey after all, and I'm not completely confident in the cleanliness of the water. I'm wondering if running the spring water through my stage 4 filter will totally defeat the purpose of drinking natural spring water. If so, does your guest have a suggestion for having the water tested? Thank you again, Jessica.
Great question,
Yeah.
and it brings up the one you asked earlier. Can we use physics to transform chemistry?
Right.
Right? So, for the most part, these two things seem to be operating independently. So, what that means is there doesn't seem to be degradation in the physics-based properties of the water when you apply a chemistry-based solution. So, that's good news for your guest. She can for the writer there, because she can continue to use her 4-stage chemistry-based process and still get the energetic benefits of the spring water that she's collected. So I would encourage her to keep doing what she's doing.
Okay, so yeah, if you're unsure, it's not going to be a big issue to just simply filter spring water then. Yeah,
and applying it, bigger here, since we don't have too much time left and we want to help people as much as they can. When people hear about this new paradigm of treating water with physics, their questions tend to come from the old paradigm. Well, what do I do about what I'm doing now?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we bring back the part about the testing. So for me, what I've experienced after years and years of being tested both by myself and by listeners is that just treating water with physics is sufficient for me.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah. So I know there's fluoride in my water. I know there's chlorine. I know there's other toxins. I was on the advisory committee at the water company in town. I have a sense about what's in the water.
Mm-hmm.
And none of that is a threat to this body at this time. So I don't worry about it. I would say something like a quarter of my audience ends up buying filters anyway, even though they hear that truth. And the people who should buy a filter or continue to use a filter are people who, when they hear what I'm saying, they say, I really want that physics stuff, but I am not giving up my chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if they have something in their head that says, I need this, hang on to it. Hang on to chemistry-based treatment. But if you're a little softer on the voice in your head,
mm-hmm.
and you're saying, well, I'm pretty open to what he's saying, and I really don't want to keep filtering, then what I suggest to people is we have really great money-back guarantees on our products. And so you just get our product and try it without a filter. And then if after a while, at least 30 days, you feel like you need a filter, contact me and tell me about the situation. I'll see if I can coach you through it to not have a filter. And then if you say, yeah, that coach is not working for me, I need a filter, I'll at least steer you in the right direction of the things that I've researched. Like I know you talk about the Berkey filters on your show,
mm-hmm.
and Berkey filters are great filters. So if somebody said, look, I just have to use a chemistry-based filter too, and what do you think about Berkey? I'd say, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Get that Berkey filter. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm. What is your book, Water Power Vitality 101? What's that all about?
Well, we're talking about a lot of new concepts, and, new concepts, it's good to communicate them in multiple ways. So, I do a lot of interviews like this, and then I write ebooks, and so that's what that one is for, is to help people understand some of the big picture of what we've been covering today. Actually, our talk today is fairly well aligned with the content that's in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I have others like Beyond Alkaline Water, which traces the journey that I went on and why I was drinking alkaline water and why I switched. And so those are available as free resources on my website.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Wow, looks like you have so many cool things here. So the website is thewellnessenterprise.com, and if people are interested, you can go to thewellnessenterprise.com, or we'll have a link to it at extremehealthradio.com/528. This is the 528th episode. You know what? I think we should do another show because we're running up against the clock here, and I have so many questions in terms of, it was great to learn about the chemistry of water and the differences between reverse osmosis and alkaline distilled, these types of things. But I'd like to talk more about the structure part and the energy part. And you mentioned Victor Schauberger and all of that. And so maybe we could do this again. Does that sound good?
That sounds awesome. I was wondering how we were going to deal with getting up against the clock here, and you've just provided the perfect outlet. So I'd love to do that with you.
Yeah, there's just not enough time right now, and I'm really focused or interested, I should say, on what people can do to doctor up their water, because putting intention into it, the Masaru Emoto work, and all of this kind of stuff, and writing messages on the side of your water. So I know that's the bulk of a lot of the stuff you're into. So maybe we can do it again. I think that'd be awesome.
Sounds good to me.
Patrick, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Oh, such a pleasure. It was great talking to you. It was as much fun in person as it is listening to your interviews. You really do a wonderful job with your show, and I admire your work.
Thank you so much. Hang on the line there really quickly, and I'll just close out the live show. We're going to put links to a lot of the different things that we talked about on today's show at extremehealthradio.com/528. And there you'll be able to get links to his website as well as some of the different books we mentioned on the show and all kinds of stuff like that. So if you guys know of anyone who is interested in water, and I know it sounds like a boring subject, but there's so many people that write us and want us to do more shows on water because it's such a I think, fascinating subject, primarily because it seems like it's the most simple subject, like I said earlier, but once you start studying it, it becomes so much more complex and advanced, and it's like, it opens up a whole new world to you. So if you know of anybody that's interested in water, please share the show with them. I think they would get a lot out of it and learn some really, really useful and great information. So again, thank you all for joining us. I'll be back on the wrap-up. And again, this is extremehealthradio.com/528. My name is Justin Stellman. Thank you for joining us, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode. I have to say, I have been absolutely loving this product by Tristan Truscott and Peter Ragnar called Good Morning, Good Evening Qigong. If you want to listen to the interview we did with Tristan, you can go to extremehealthradio.com/127. And Qigong is a great way to de-stress the body. And as you know, there's a huge component to disease caused by stress. And stress is a huge factor in how we live our lives and the amount of energy we have and the amount of vitality we have. And so, Dr. Shade, what do you think about Qigong?
People come to me and they're really sick and they got this blown out neurological system and all this toxicity. And I tell them, you need to do Qigong, Tai Chi. You need to do these things that settle down and restore your neurology, because it puts together all the parts. It puts you back into that state where you can start to detoxify. And so I highly, highly recommend all that.
And what about you, Kit Campbell? What do you think about Qigong? Do you like it as well?
Qigong is amazing. And the reason that I believe it to be amazing is everything here is energy. That is a scientific fact, if there ever is one. So when you're practicing Qigong, you're actually drawing energy into your body. Your intention, whatever your intention is behind any action, will determine the level of energy, type of energy that you absorb into your body. So your intention behind is very important, just like thought. So when you're practicing Qigong, you're actually bringing energy in and you're bringing out the stuff that might be a bit stale. With Tai Chi, it's totally different. The energy runs underneath the skin because it's more of a martial. This is the Chinese understanding, by the way. It's more of a martial art. So Qigong is very, very good for bringing that energy into the body, and just fantastic.
If you're interested in picking up this Qigong course by Tristan Truscott and Peter Ragnar, go to extremehealthradio.com/Qigong. That's QIGONG. And you can learn more about it. There's a great video on that page, and you can learn more about it on that page. And I highly, highly recommend this product. I love it myself, so go ahead and check that out. extremehealthradio.com/Qigong. Well, there you go. Episode 528 is in the can with Mr. Patrick Durkin. What did you guys think? You guys, like him? I really liked him. I really, really liked him. I liked his approach. I liked his, just his demeanor and his outlook. I liked his open mind. I thought it was really cool how he, is much more spiritual in his thinking in terms of water, and detached from his ideas about, water. And I don't know, a lot of times you get people, because we've had people email in and say, you got to interview, what was that guy's name, that I mentioned? Oh gosh, the distilled water guy. He's very outspoken about the benefits of distilled water. Let me find out what his name is really quick. Morton Weber or something like that? Let me see. It is Andrew Norton Weber. Yeah, and we'll have him on. But what I found is that people that are very, very opinionated and feel like they have things figured out, I don't know. I don't gravitate to them, because although their information is unique and interesting, and they're, a lot of times people like that are very dynamic, what is challenging for me is that everyone that we talk to, seems to have the whole world figured out, and they understand everything about everything. In reality, in my opinion, I don't think we have the first inkling of what water really is. I don't think we understand healing. I don't even think we understand our gut biome. I don't think we understand what food does to us. I don't think we understand anything that we've been told about anything about how the world really works. There's so many things that we just don't understand, or we understand less than 1% of what's actually happening. But because that's all we have to work with, you have people running around saying this is the best kind of water, this is the least best kind of water, and this is what you should be eating, this is what you shouldn't be eating. And you have all these people arguing with one another. Meanwhile, people are healing themselves drinking the most unpure water ever, or people are healing themselves doing things they shouldn't be doing. I mean, how can you explain, George Burns, who smokes, cigars and cigarettes and drinks alcohol all the way up till his 104th birthday or whatever it was, living for 104 years, when you have, the juice man, Jay Kordich, who I love, recently passed away at 94. Amazing individual, but has been juicing for 36 years or 46 years or way more than that. How do you explain that? Right? So something's going on that none of us know about. Something is happening behind the scenes on a deeper level than we have no idea what's going on. And so for people to run around and say that they know, I don't know. To me, it just becomes the height of idiocy when people feel like they have everything figured out. Because once someone figures something out, and it's not going to be long until they learn something where they realize that everything they were saying before was incorrect. So what we like to do is just investigate, with an open mind, do the best we can. And, the diet I follow shouldn't be the diet you follow. The diet you follow may not be the best diet for me, or maybe it will. But the best thing to do is to try and experiment and be our own gurus, right? I think we need to stop as a culture listening to people who are perceived authorities, because they're not really authority figures. We just put them up in pedestals like they are, but they're not. These people are just offering opinions. They're offering ideas, and they're options. That's all they are. It's just options. So it's important for us to continually, and I'm speaking to myself here too, continually seek to find the truth within yourself. I think that's so important, I think, because you're going to have people that tell you conflicting advice. So what do you do? What do you do when someone says you should be eating meat and someone says you shouldn't be eating meat? You got to make a decision. And so it's really, really important, I think, to just figure out who you are and figure out what your worldview is going to be, and make sure that worldview is open for change too, and don't be stuck on one way of thinking. If someone has, it doesn't matter if it's about health or any subject that, religion, politics, anything. It doesn't have to be about health. Whatever it is that you think you have the world figured out, just make sure that you can abide by that, but just make sure that you keep an open mind. And you're not attached to those ideas, because those ideas, have existed long before you ever came onto the planet. And those ideas will continue to exist long after you're gone. And there was a time in your life when you didn't have any of those opinions or any of those ideas. So were you any less you when you didn't have those ideas? No. So those ideas have nothing to do with who you are, right? So if they don't have anything to do with who you are, then what sense does it make to continually hold on to things that aren't even you? So the best you can do is to find out who you are and what makes you tick and what resonates with you. And if you like what Patrick was talking about on the show, then check out his website. If not, then no big deal. Go find someone else that you like, but just make sure that you're your own guru, not me, not Patrick, not anybody else. Only you knows the answers deep inside. So it's important to connect with that, I think. So I really liked Patrick. Did you? I really liked him. I found him to be refreshing because he was so open-minded and so humble about everything that he's talking about. And so he's got some really unique products too on his website. So if you want to go, I'll put a link to his website. I don't remember what it is, but I'll put it up, extremehealthradio.com/528. You can learn more about his website there. And does he have a book? No, he doesn't have a book. Yeah. So next time, I invited him back on the show because I think we barely scratched the surface. We talked a lot about the mechanical aspects of water, which is the scientific way of looking at the components that are in water and, stuff like that, the TDS and the structured or the reverse osmosis. But I want to get into the energetics of water next episode that we do with him. So we'll have him back on in a couple months. We'll talk about some things that we can do to charge up our water and whether or not it's possible for us to take regular tap water. We kind of touched on this in today's show, and structure the water and energize it. And if that's enough, maybe it's enough. Maybe you don't need to filter it. Who knows? I think really what it comes down to is your intention and your appreciation for life and for water and for being, existing on the planet Earth. All this stuff is really where the money's at and where it's all at. It's that's really where you want to focus is the intention, what you're doing. Are you living your passion? Are you living your dream? Are you living your dharma? Are you doing the work that you're supposed to be doing on this earth? Are you helping people? Whatever that may be. And when you connect with that, you things tend to fall into alignment with you better. So, and I like the idea of using water too as a medicine. Use it in a structured way. So, like for example, like we talked about on the show, if you are in tune with yourself, then you can do this. But it's challenging to do this because here's the thing: like if you have a cold, right? You have a cold. You want to throw up, and you have the sniffles, and you're all clogged up and congested. Your body tells you that, right? So you can use vitamin C, high-dose vitamin C, as a way of offering the body something natural that it can use to help get on top of the cold, right? But the problem with water is that typically you feel the same all the time. So if you're not dealing with any kind of health issue, you're feeling good, you have nothing going on, it's hard to really tap into your body and how you feel, but you can use reverse osmosis or distilled water for a certain amount of time until your body doesn't want it anymore. And maybe you're craving it, or maybe if you do muscle testing or something, maybe you really want that water because your body because subconsciously your body's fighting something, but you have no idea what it is. But all you know is that you're craving this kind of water. And so if you're in touch with that, then you can drink distilled water or reverse osmosis water for as long as you feel like you need to. But the key and the trick is being in touch with all that stuff. That's really where it all lies, is being in touch with your body and not being in your mind. Right? Because we spend so much of our life in our head and our mind and our brain thinking instead of feeling. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I thought that was a really fun show. We'll have him on in a couple months, and we'll talk more about the energetics of water and the spiritual implications and principles that are wrapped up in water. So that should be a pretty interesting show. If you guys want to check out this show, it was, or the actual show page on our website for this show, it is extremehealthradio.com/528, and we'll put all the sponsors on that show too. So when you click through our link, that helps support our work, and visit our sponsors and purchase from them, and that helps support our work. So that was extremehealthradio.com/528. I do want to let you guys know we are working behind the scenes on a membership website, which we're very excited about. And the membership website is going to be the place for people who are high-level advanced people, and for beginners as well. But it's going to be for people that really want to take their health to the next level. So what we're going to do is we're going to be partnering with different people that we've had on the show and some that haven't, to do in-depth courses. So we're going to have one section that's all about the body. So we'll have courses on every major organ of the body and how to take care of it, and practical approaches and exactly what to do for certain organs of the body. But then we're also going to be tackling different health challenges like digestion or arthritis, things like that, where we're going to go and have in-depth courses. And so what we're looking to do is do a course every single month with a high-level person. And then I will offer some of my insight as well in those courses as well. And so what we're going to be doing is also Q&A calls where we're going to be taking your health questions from these people and everything is going to be categorized, so you can go from A to Z on the alphabet. And if you want to look up Alzheimer's disease, you can, listen to 3 or 4 different doctors or health coaches, practitioners, talk for 3 or 4 minutes about Alzheimer's and get really practical advice. So we're going to have answers to all these different health issues. So it's going to be something that's going to be building over time. So we're going to be adding more to it as the months progress. Something else that we're going to do too is we've gotten a lot of response from you that have taken the survey, is that we are going to, if you guys want to take the survey, I would love for you to answer some of these questions, because it would help us a lot to know what to do and how to produce this content. But what we want to do is have like a cleansing schedule, right? Like a yearly program that you stick to every single year that takes you through all 4 seasons of life, and so of the year. So, when spring comes, then we do this kind of a cleanse. When fall comes, we do this kind of a cleanse. When winter comes, we do this kind of a cleanse. So we go through all the different, so every year you're doing these cleanses, and we'll do them as a group. And I'm not sure if that will be an extra paid upsell kind of a thing where you can purchase and be part of that, or if that will be part of the community. Or maybe there'll be different tiers of the community. I'm not sure how it's all going to work out yet, but we're going to be going through these as a group, overseen by a doctor. And so we'll have a private area of the forum of the membership site where we can all talk and go through these things. And so I'm really excited about it. And it's going to be something, I'm kind of selfishly making for me, because this is kind of what I want. I want to have answers to health questions, and, I want to have a place where I can just go and just learn, short snippets, but then longer courses, video, audio, text as well. And so, I'm going to be doing a whole thing on different vitamins and minerals and breaking all of those down to let you guys know exactly what they all do in the body, so that you can really quickly see, exactly like in 2 minutes, like what every mineral and vitamin does, so that you can get a quick rundown of all this stuff. So we're going to be building this thing over time. So it's really fun. If you guys are interested in doing this, then I'll put a link on this page. How about that? That'll probably be best. extremehealthradio.com/528. I'll put a link to the listener survey. I'd love to get your insights and thoughts about what you guys want, because, that's really what it's all about. We want to create something you want. Excuse me. And so we're going to be doing that. That takes literally about 30 seconds to take that survey, and that helps us tremendously. And I'll also put a link to the membership academy that's not launched yet. It should be launching in September of 2017. So if you are really serious about your health and you want some accountability and you want a place to get encouragement, meet other people, and get super high level education, practical information about how to take your health to the next level and overcome whatever health challenges you have, this will be the place for you. So I'm really excited about, it's kind of my, what do you say? It's kind of not my gift to humanity or the world, but it's a work that I'm very proud of so far. And I'm excited to offer this as a way for people to be able to educate themselves on how to overcome their health challenges. It's sort of my gift to humanity, I guess you could say. But it is a paid-for membership community, so only those that are really interested and serious about taking their health to the next level should be a part of it. So, with that said, one more thing about that. If you want to sign up to the waiting list, that would be the best way. And what we'll do is we'll make it. We're going to be doing an insane discount to those that are on the waiting list only. So what we're going to do is we're going to launch sometime September 2017 to the waiting list. If you're on the waiting list, you'll get access to the cheapest price it will ever be, and it will never go up for those that are on that waiting list. And then we're going to launch it to our regular list of people that are a part of our list, our community. And then we'll be launching it to the other people that are not on our mailing list, but are just, in our social media. And so we'll be doing like a 3-phase thing. And obviously, if you're on the waiting list, it will be the cheapest price ever, and your price will never go up. I envision the monthly price going up at some point, because it's going to be such valuable information. And we've already got like over 24 hours of recorded content for that area, broken up into A to Z courses and all kinds of stuff in there. So what we have already is super, super amazing. So At some point it will go up, but if you get on the waiting list, I won't email you until about a week before we launch, and that way you can get access to the best price. I just want to make sure that if you're on that list, you will get the best price ever. So, thank you guys. We really appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoyed that show. Thank you for the latest patrons. You guys are amazing. Patreon is a website where you can go to donate $1 a month or whatever, you want. And so if you feel like our show has helped you and you like it, but you're not interested in anything else really, go over to Patreon, and if you're logged into Facebook, it takes you about 30 seconds to set up an account. It takes no time at all, and then you can donate $1 a month or whatever, and that really helps us. So thank you guys for doing that. It really helps us a lot. Also, thank you guys for your continued support via Amazon. Amazon is a great way to support us. So if you can remember to go through our link every single time you make an Amazon purchase, on the right-hand side of our website, you can check out the link, and that would be an amazing way to support the show. You can also drag that text on the right side of our website over onto your desktop, and it will create an icon. And if you just use that icon, you don't have to go to our website anymore. You just use that icon, and that will help support the show. So we appreciate that a lot. And also, don't forget to visit our store if you guys are interested in health tools and gadgets and green powders and juicers and blenders and rebounders and saunas and all kinds of really cool things, chi machines, all kinds of cool stuff. Check out our store. We've got lots of really great stuff. There's a lot of videos in there, so you can get an education about all the products, and it's kind of a place to do a little research and learn, and as well as check out different items. So we're adding new products to our store all the time. So we appreciate you guys. Thank you for making it possible for us to do the show. It really, really is amazing. So is that about it for housekeeping? I think that's about it. All right, guys. Love you. Thank you for your support over the years. We couldn't do this show without you. You're amazing. And we'll catch you guys on the next episode.
No material on this blog is intended to suggest that you should not seek professional medical care. Always work with qualified medical professionals, even if you educate yourself in the field of live food, nutrition, and alternative medicine. I'm not a doctor, nor am I offering readers medical advice of any kind. None of the information offered here should be interpreted as a diagnosis of any disease, nor an attempt to treat or prevent any disease or condition. While information in this blog is discussed in the context of numerous conditions, it can be dangerous